Hi everybody. Today it's Sandy with Yarn Craft Country. So today I'm back, which by the way, as everyone knows, Stacy and I are part of the Fashion Girls. That's our channel. But we're also a lifestyle channel, which means it's from accessories to clothing to travel to everywhere in between. We're just two ladies that like to try and do just about everything. So, we are on this knitting journey. I guess that's what we can say. We're on this knitting journey together. So, I have put 2 videos out, which I solely apologize. They're not that great. You know, I'm still trying to get my lighting right, but I did get an overhead arm for my camera, so I hope things will go a little bit better. Again, if the lighting isn't right, I apologize. It's still a work in progress, but I'm not going to let that stop us from learning how to knit. So, just a little story on how I got to learn to knit. I used to go to my aunt and my cousin, my aunt and uncle and my cousin, when I was a very young teenager, around 13. I would spend almost all summer with them. Only about 2 hours away from where I lived. So she knit, she crocheted, so one whole summer, that's what we worked on. She taught me how to crochet, she taught me how to knit a little bit, we did a little bit of everything. I'm mainly a crocheter. I dabbled somewhat in knitting, so I'm like a beginner 2, okay, number 2, if you want to put it that way. I did make a few projects. I knitted some shawls, things like that, and I will show you, you know, a video on what I have done and whatever. But today we're working on our project, which is actually project number 2, if you want to call it. It's a hat. So, project number 1 is the fingerless gloves. So that will be another videos. That will be the first project. Okay. But the second project is a hat that we're working on. And I'm going to show you, you know, what ribbing is and, you know, that kind of thing. And I did get pretty far in the hat because I didn't want to make it long and drawn out. So people that are going to follow along making it, I will post everything. I will put underneath. I will put everything underneath on the hat, where you can find the pattern and the yarn. You know, yarn is getting pretty pricey these days. So I'm trying to stay with pretty much cheaper yarns and ready available yarns that you can probably buy in your local Walmart store if you have to. I like Michaels and Joann Fabrics for yarns. I'm sorry. Joann Fabrics and Michaels for my yarn. So, I like a number 4 yarn. I believe I might have touched on that, but I'm going to do some separate videos on yarns and needles and things like that in between. Okay, so with the hat, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about it before I go into showing you what I have done and how you can start this. Okay, so the hat we're doing looks like this. Okay, so the hat, I don't know if there's an actual name on it. It's just called the Beginner Hat Knitting Pattern, and it was on favecrafts.com. And again, I will post the link and everything where you can find the pattern. Very simple pattern. It says if you're new to knitting or have never knitted a hat before, this beginner hat knitting pattern from Red Heart Yarn is perfect for you. Cute knitted hats like this make great gifts for everyone and are easy and fun to make. And it says, you know, you can embellish it with a flower or pom-pom if you like, or, you know, and it's a winter weather essential. And let's face it, we're here. It's really cold today. You can knit this cutie up in your favorite color yarn, create a neutral hat in browns or blacks for your man, and learn how to knit a hat for beginners with this easy pattern. The difficulty level, most patterns have a difficulty level, and it's beginner. Knitting needle size 10 or a 6 medium, okay. Yarn weight is a 4. Medium weight worsted, Aran, or again, a number 4. Your gauge or your gauge, okay, is 16 stitches per 4 inches. I'm going to do a whole pattern, just a whole segment on gauge. And I've never worried about gauge before. Well, I did some swatches with different needles and yarns, and let me tell you, I'm still learning, and I learned a lot about gauge. Gauge is very, very important. It's so important. It's how your pattern comes out. Okay, and so you only need 1 skein of Red Heart with Love yarn and whatever you want. I will show you the skeins that I buy, and you need a 6 millimeter or a US size 10 knitting needles, or whatever needle gives you the gauge. Okay, so, which I forgot to bring the gauge thing in with me, so I will have to do that for you in a second. So so where I'm at in the particular pattern itself, okay, where I'm at in the pattern is, first you're going to start on by casting 70 stitches. Okay, so when you watch my video number 1 on knit, watch the second one on purl. Now, the second video that I have on purl is kind of, you know, I've been purling my own way for a long time, and I recently just learned a lot of people purl like that, and it's not actually the right way. So I just learned how to do the quote way you should purl. And again, there'll be videos inserted in between all the rest of these on the right way. If you just watch my knit video first, okay, watch the purl video, then I will have another video on there on knit and purl, and I believe I have parts on ribbing, which is knit 1, knit 2. That's how you get the ribbing. So I'm going to do a row on here then to show you what I have made. Okay, now on what I'm going to show you is what I have done and how to shape the crown, how I knit 2 together, okay, and cut the yarn, weave the yarn. So I'm going to take you into steps on this, okay? This hat is simple, simple, simple to make. It's not hard at all. Okay, so again, this is the hat that we're going to make. Really simple hat, cute. And I'll show you the yarn then that I'm going to be making it in, okay? All right, so these are size 10 straight knitting needles. These are straight needles. All right, I'm going to be doing it on cable needles, and I will tell you why once I switch the camera around and show you what I have done on the hat and explain the rest of it to start your beautiful winter hat. So let me switch the camera around and I will be right back. Okay, so now I have the piece that I started. So the piece that I started for this hat what we're going to do first is I have the pattern right here. So you're going to cast on 70 stitches, okay? And then you're starting with row 1. This is your ribbing. This is a ribbed knit hat. Row 1 is purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. And you're going to do that all the way to the end. Row 2, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. And I'm going to show you a little trick. Hopefully you can see on here. If not, I'm going to make a video where I'm going to go more in depth on how you can detect what your next stitch is, if it's a knit stitch or a purl stitch. Repeat rows 1 and 2 until work measures 10 inches from the beginning, ending with the wrong side row. Okay, and I'll show you how I determine which is my right side and wrong side. Some people would probably disagree, but I've been doing it for a long time. So for me, I just think it's a little bit easier. So usually, again, like I said, these are size 10 straight knitting needles, okay? And usually I would knit with those. And that's what you should knit on to start out until you get your stitches nice and your tension. Your tension, and I'll show you as I knit, your tension is the key. You don't want to draw it too tight. You don't want to keep it too loose. Okay, so I'm going to show you. The only thing right now, I have my project on circular needles. Okay, but it's just knitting back and forth. I use circular needles because I have fibromyalgia in the wrists. I have fibromyalgia and I have it really bad in my wrists. So, okay, I use the circular needles and I'm going to show you why. Let me put my pattern here so I can look at it, reference it. And the circular needles, I have this on a small one. Okay, these are your circular needles. It's on a cable. That's what circular needles are. I like the way they bend. This is an interchangeable set. And again, I will show you the difference between needles and the sets and things that I have. I'll do that again in an informational video. Okay, but for the hat, this is what I'm going to work on these because of my hands. You'll see they come out just like a pair of straight knitting needles, like you have 2 needles. Okay? All right. So this is how far I got on my hat. I don't know if you can see the color on it. Hopefully you can. Let me double check the camera. Yeah. Okay. So this is your ribbing, and you think it just looks like knit. Very, very heavy. Okay? This is the right side. How do I know that this is your right side? Because my long end is to your left. So this was the end that you started with. You cast it on with. This had what they call your dead end, and then this is your working thread. Okay, and I explain that in my knit video. So when this is to the left, which means it ended up to the end of the row. Okay, now a lot of people would say that's wrong. They would say it's the wrong side. Well, you know, to be honest, when I do other videos, I will mark on my projects which is the right side and which is the wrong side. I've always taken it that when this is your cast on row, you end up with, you know, when you cast on, I always took it as wherever you ended where you cast it on, this was your working row. That I always counted it as your first row. Okay, a lot of people would differ with that. You know, I'll look into it and see how I could tell you, but This is what I always said as far as this is your right side. When you're doing ribbing, excuse me, when you're doing ribbing, it really doesn't matter. Because the ribbing, look at this. See how stretchy ribbing is? So you want that in a hat. So when you stretch it, these are your knit rows. These are your purl rows. Knit rows, purl rows. Knit rows, purl rows. So if you want, you can cuff that up. And look how pretty that is. So whether it's your knits, your right side, your wrong side, it's still going to look the same on a rib knit item. Okay? So, all right. So let's start. You cast it on your 70 stitches. You're going to purl 2, knit 2, whatever row you're on, knit 2, purl 2. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to do one row for you because I'm at the point where I'm 10 inches. Okay? So, I'm at 10 inches. I had a measuring tape. I measured it. I measured the 10 inches. Okay? A lot of times, you know, some patterns go by rows. Most patterns that I do will go by inches. So the rows really don't matter. You're going to take your measuring tape from the end and measure all the way up to right there. All right? So, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to start. I'm going to show you the ribbing. Now, when I said to you, there's only 2 stitches you really need to do in order to learn, in order to knit, and that's the knit stitch and the purl stitch. Okay, so I'm going to push my stitches up on here only because, again, I am using the cable needles because of my hands. You're going to start out and use straight needles. There's nothing wrong with that. I've used straight needles forever. Okay, so what I'm going to start out with is I'm starting out with a knit stitch. How do I know? Do you see the V? Look at this. The V is knit. Do you see that little nib there, that little loop there, and that little loop? They're purl stitches. V stitch is knit. The little loop is purl. Knit, knit. Do you see? The little loop is purl. That's how you know what your next stitch is. So, here's your knit stitch. Now, this is what I mean by tension. I'm putting that in the back. Now, you see how I'm pulling that. I'm pulling that to keep, especially that first stitch. It's going to be loose. Okay, I'm putting it around, bringing it back, down through, and off. And then I pull it again a little bit. Not too tight, but enough to keep that tension. I'm a crocheter, so I'm used to keeping my tension like this and holding the needle. You will find your own niche to doing it, okay? Here's another knit. Through the back, around, down, and through. Now that's your knit. Oh, gee, I'm watching TV. Oh, where am I? Am I at knit or I'm at purl? I'm looking at it. What does that look like? There's a nib there and a little loop there. I know it's gray, it's hard to tell, but there's a little loop and there's a little loop. That's purl. So I know now. I bring the forward. Now I know that I'm purling. Okay? So that's purl. Okay? Keep that tension. All right? Put it down through. Put it around. Down through that way. And purl. That's my 2 purl stitches. Again, how do you know where you're at? V, V. That's a knit stitch. So now I'm going to knit the next 2. Okay? Again, now we're going to do purl stitches. We're doing 2 purl. Make sure the yarn's forward. You're going to stick it back in there. You're going to put it around like that, down through, and purl. Pull, just tug on that just a little bit. You're going to go down through, put it around, through, and there's another purl. Okay? Put it to the back. Now knit. So we're knitting 2. Okay? So now you got kind of that idea. You see? See? There's your ribbing. And that's all this whole thing is that. That is ribbing. So let me finish this. I don't want to get too involved before my little portion of this on my camera. I don't have a really good camera, so I have to do this in segments and put it together for you. So I'm doing my purls. If I go out of the scene, I apologize. I'm doing the best I can to follow along with you. So we're knitting, you know, we're going through. Here's my purl. And again, you will get through to know how to hold your yarn your own way. You can, anybody can teach you how to do the stitches. It's learning your own way of trying to figure out how to do your stitches. Okay? So just let me get through here, because now you're doing this from the very beginning. That's all you're doing on the 70 stitches. Okay? So let me finish this up for you, because then we're gonna start shaping. Let me get through here. We're gonna start shaping the crown. So I wanted to do this for you real quick so you got the idea of what it looks like and how to get your yarn to places that you want to go on your needle. So do you see how I'm trying to keep that tension? And it's not too, you know, it's not too tight. You want to pull a little bit there to straighten them out. You know, it's not too tight. It's not too loose. That will come in time. You know, it took me a long time to get the tension. I'm on a portable table right now, so if there's a little shaking going on, again, I apologize until I get things set up a little bit better. Okay, so and you know, you'll be whipping these hats out like crazy for the winter, for winter gifts. A lot of people start on them during the summer. They make a couple for Christmas gifts, just like the fingerless gloves that we're doing. You know, again, and you'll learn a lot of different things along the way on the stitches. So let me, where am I at? See, I've been talking. That's a V, that's a V, so I know I'm on a knit stitch next. That's an easy way to remember where you're at. And another thing I want to tell you, if you would ever run out of yarn while you're knitting, make sure you put the yarn. See, now I forgot again, so now I know I'm on a knit. When you're connecting a new piece of yarn, do not do it in between rows or anything like that. You want to connect it, yeah, you want to connect it to the end, on an end row, because that way, if it would ever come loose or anything like that, you know, you don't want, God forbid, a hole if it would come loose in the middle of your hat. Or when you start doing sweaters and things like that, you don't want a hole in the middle of your project. So that if it would come loose, it would be sort of an easy fix because it's in a seam. You can always get that straightened out. So, again, I'm sorry I'm I'm a little slow today. Forgive me. Okay. So, I'm kind of a crafty person. I like doing all sorts of things. You know, I knit, crochet, I paint. I'm a soap maker. You know, I do a little bit of everything. In the winter time, right now, with the way things are in the world, my anxiety, I have problems with anxiety. And this actually calms me down very, very much so. So, you know, knitting is good therapy. As I said this before, knitting is from all walks of life. From men, women, there's children that knit. And there's also a lot of support online for knitters. There's, you know, a lot of knitting sites. Okay. So as I said, I like the circular needles, but there's nothing wrong with it because there you go. Okay. See that? I did that row. And easy peasy. Okay. So I'm at my 10. I know I only had one more row to go for the 10. All right. So actually, I'm going to start this in a few seconds as soon as I adjust my next scene for the camera. So I will be right back. Alrighty. So we're back. Now, we're going to start now. You're at your 10 inches on your hat. Oh, and by the way, I never told you the color of the yarn. The color of the yarn, let me double check in my bag. I'm going to open my bag. My daughter bought me this cute little bag that I'll show later for Christmas. The name of the yarn is Icelandic, and I'm not sure if it's still in stock. I'll have to double check on that for you. It is the Red Heart, which is upside down, the Red Heart Jumbo Super Saver yarn. There's 10 ounces in here, and you can usually buy that for, it's a 4-ply yarn. And again, it has on here all the information that you need. It has your number 4 yarn. It tells you how many stitches you should have if you knit, how many stitches you should have per inch. Again, I will go over all that for you in another video. It's 100% acrylic, easy to wash, okay? And it's called Icelandic. And I love it. I am a big Red Heart yarn person. I love the Red Heart Super Saver yarn. I think it's really, really good for washing and very easy yarn to work with. So, okay, so it's Icelandic. That is the name of my yarn. Now, we got this done. Okay, now we're at to shape the crown. Okay, so now again, to shape the crown, it says right side. I'm on the right, let's see, no, on, okay, just for the sake of everybody's saying that with that at the end is the wrong side, say I'm on the right side. Okay, so again, you're ribbing. I don't think it really matters that much. All right, but for the sake of it, we're on the right side. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth, and you see I'm turning my work just like you would on the regular straight needles. You know, again, on this type of needle, I'm still turning my work. I'm just on circular needles. Okay, so let me pull this up. Now, my pattern says to shape the crown, we're going to knit 2, purl 2 together. Decrease, so you're decreasing a stitch. You're repeating from, okay, you're repeating from the asterisk, which is the knit 2, to the last 2 stitches. You're going to knit 2, and you should have 53 stitches on here. Please count your stitches then and make sure. If it's not right, that row I would definitely rip out and start all over again with just that row. Okay, so to shape our crown, here we go. It is saying to knit 2. Am I knitting 2 or am I purling 2? Now see, this is starting on here with purl 2. See, that's what I'm saying. You know, I still say that this is the right way to do it. Because it's saying on the right side, then you're knitting 2. Okay, so, which means I have to go through a whole row to do the decrease. So, let's do that. And I'll do another row. I'll come back and we'll start. See, I'm learning just like you are. And I was right the first time. That's how I determine. But I would definitely tell you to put a stitch marker. So, I will be back and we'll start the decrease. Alrighty. So I'm back. Now, number 1, let's get this right and wrong side. I was right before. The right side is where your end piece, your dead piece from casting on from your working piece, is on your left side. So to avoid any confusion, after you do your first row, this is on the end of the left side. I actually put a little holder here. Okay, so I actually put a little stitch marker here, and you don't have to go out and buy everything right away. You can use a safety pin and stick it on this side. I know that this is the right side of my work. Okay, easy peasy. Now, and I do have my tape measure. Get yourself a tape measure. This was a cheap one. I think it was 97 cents in Walmart. Okay, and it said that it wanted 10 inches. So let's just measure this from the beginning, which is down here. Okay, let's get into view. And it is, let me get this straightened out. Okay. Okay, so here's the end right there. So I'm about 1 row over 10 inches, which is fine because of the fact that, see, I'm about 1 row over 10 inches. And it's only because, you know, sometimes you do that. It could be 10, it could be 11 inches. It's not going to make a difference. It's only how high you want to put the cuff on your hat. Okay, so we know we're at 10 inches. So get yourself, it doesn't have to be a really, really good tape measure. Just so that you can measure inches. You could use a ruler. I like the tape measure better. We have our right side on there. Okay, we have that. Now, for the decrease. Okay. Let's start this. Get this straightened out here. Okay. So. This is, let me see here. Okay. this is how I have to hold it, but this is actually the right side, okay? I'm not trying to confuse you. It's only because I'm using circular needles. This is the right side. So if you hold it in a circle, this is how you're going to knit. And so this is the right side. Again, I'm not trying to confuse you. It's the same, okay? It is the right side that I'm knitting on. I'm going to start knitting here. That's the 2 needles. So this is the right side. There's the stitch holder. Okay, just so that you are kind of confused. Don't mean to do that. Now, we're shaping our crown. So we're going to do, it's telling you on the right side, which I am, knit 2, purl 2 together, decrease 1 stitch. That's when you purl your 2 together. Okay, repeat from asterisk, which is your knit 2, to the last 2 stitches, and then you knit 2. You should have 53 stitches. Make sure that you do have 53 stitches. This is very important when you're doing the crown. And I always once in a while count my stitches to make sure that I didn't drop a stitch somewhere or anything like that. So, I always count my stitches, especially at the end of this kind of row. I always count my stitches. Okay, so now we're going to knit 2. So that's your knit row, 1, 2. Okay, so we're going to knit our 2 stitches. Okay, let's knit 1 there. Pull that tension. Knit the second one. Okay. We're going to bring this in front. Now it says purl 2 together. We're going to do a decrease purl. I don't know. There's different ways as to increase and decrease. This is the way I was taught and the way I like to decrease. You get the same effect. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle, your right needle, and I'm going to hold, to show you, I'm just going to leave it down the front, the working yarn. I'm going to take this and put it in the first one and put it in the second one because it's saying, okay. So you see I have it through the 2, 1, 2. I have it through the 2 purl. So it's your knitting or your purling 2 together. It says purl 2 together. So you're going to decrease a stitch. So what you want to do then, you want to go around, and I hold that because you're purling, and you don't want to do this tightly, but you want to take that through the both stitches. See, you're taking it through both stitches. Now you see my yarn split. You have to be very, very careful, because sometimes that can happen because my tension. Now my tension is a little tight on that second one. So make sure it's through, take it around, and make sure you get it through without splitting that yarn. Okay, it's through. Now slide the 2 stitches off. Okay, now as you can tell, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, I have 1, 2, 3 stitches. I knitted 2 and I purled 2 together, so I just decreased a purl stitch. Now it's saying repeat from asterisk. The asterisk on the pattern says, from the asterisk on the pattern, it says knit 2, purl 2 together. Decrease 1 stitch. So again, you're going to go back to knit 2, let's see, repeat from asterisk to the last 2 stitches. So in other words, you're basically going to purl your stitches together. So it says 53 stitches. Now I haven't done this before, so if I goof up, we goof up together. All right. So from the asterisk, we're going to knit 2. So we're going to knit 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to knit 2, and then it says purl 2 together. Okay, so we're going to purl our 2 together. So we're going to go down, and we're putting it through the 2 purl stitches. We're going to put this around. We're going to bring it up through. We're going to slide the 2 stitches off. Okay? Keep that tension. We're going to put it to the back. And we're going to knit. We're going to knit our 2. Now we're going to purl again. We're going to purl our 2 together. 1, 2. That's our 2 in the ribbing. We're going to put it around. Okay. Now see, that can easily fall off that needle, so be careful. Hold that tension so that you want to bring that through. Okay. And you're sliding them off. So you're decreasing stitches. We're going to knit the next 2. Okay. So, I'm going to be quiet a few minutes and just watch what I'm doing. Okay, I knitted the 2. I'm going to decrease again. So, I'll put this down so you have an easy way. 1, that's your 2 purl. See? You're putting it around. You can hold it like that if you want. It'd be a lot easier for learning. Put it through. Get your tension and pull them off. And then you want to put that in the back to do your 2 knit stitches. It is really not that hard. Once you learn how to practice just on your knit stitch, then practice just on your purl stitch. It's not, you know, again, it's not really that hard. So just for the sake of teaching you, I'll put it into the front again. Now I have the 2, 1, 2, the 2 purl. See? Okay. Put that to the back. Dip. See? And I'll finish it up that way because we're bringing it to the front. Through the 2 purl. Through. And off. Okay. Do my knit. Get my purl. See, even for me, I'm not perfect, you know. As far as knitting, I have a lot to learn too, so we're kind of learning together. You know, I'm not proficient. See, those 2 stitches got tangled along the way, but okay. Going through the 2, off. And then when you it faster, like, you know, when you get the hang of it, then you'll learn how to hold the yarn like I do. I'm just doing this because the way I hold the yarn, I believe they call part of it the continental way, which there, again, there's all different ways, but this is the way that I was taught. And so I'm just finishing up for you like this to get the decreases in there. And we're kind of getting there. Okay, this is purl. Oh, sorry, can't show it to you. Hold on. Make sure I have the right pearls. Okay. Knit. Hold on. Hold on a second. My daughter was just wondering if I'm doing a video. Yes, I'm doing a video. Okay. That is Stacy. Yes, she's part of the Fashion Girls. She's not into knitting or anything like that. So I'm just going to finish this. Let's get some more yarn. Okay, so another decrease with the 2 purl and 2 knit. Another decrease on the 2 purl, another decrease, purl on the decrease, okay, another purl. You know, sometimes some of my stitches are a little hard too to get through. You know, that'll happen. You're gonna see that kind of split on me. So I got it through good. Push them off. Got my tension. Make sure you try to keep that, and you'll have a little bit better, you know, a little more uniform stitches again. I'm not perfect either, so they'll, you know. Okay, so now this is the last decrease. Okay, the 2 purl are the last where I decreased 1. Okay, and then at the end of the pattern it says now knit your 2, which is the last 2. Just that one, and that one is really stretchy on the end there, so okay, so that was our decrease row. So didn't mean to take that out of context there. So now you'll see you have decreased stitches. Let's count. It said we should have 53 stitches, so let's count them. Okay, now you'll see here, see how this kind of looks because you decrease stitches. Look at right here. Do you see these big lines here, 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 here? That's where you decreased your stitches. Okay, let's count. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50. No, I have 53, but 52. But I think I goofed up in my counting. Let me count again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 48, 50, 51, 52, 53. Okay, so there is your decrease row, and you can tell where I decrease. See where the decreases are? Right there. They were basically all where they were purled. Okay, so that's your decrease row. That is your first row of your crown shaping. Okay, now when you get to the other round, which is row 2, wrong side, okay, you'll purl 2, knit 1, and repeat to the last 2 stitches and purl 2. So you're just going to do that, and I'll do the next row for you and show you how that's going to look and how that's done. So just stay tuned. Okay, so now we did our first row of shaping the crown, which was the decrease row. Row 2, all right, is going to be on the wrong side. How do we know it's on the wrong side? Because here we go, wrong side, stitch markers there, that's the right side, this is the wrong side. Okay, you see where we decreased, we decreased right there. You can see where the little long lines are. All right, now we're on row 2 of shaping the crown. Okay, it's the wrong side. We're going to purl 2, knit 1, repeat from the asterisk to the last 2 stitches. Okay, so now this is going to be a little different. It might confuse you a little bit. Just make sure you keep reading your pattern. We're on row 2. So now we're going to purl 2. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're putting our yarn there, and we're going to purl 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is, usually all right, let's check this out. Okay, so we're going to purl 2. That's a purl, that's a purl, because when we ended we knitted 2, so that would make sense. We're going to purl 2. Okay, so I'm just like all confused here today myself. Okay. Now, I'm on a circular needle, so I don't know. This might get a little confusing. I might have to switch them back to the straight needles because I'm going to be decreasing more. So, before the next video, I'll probably have to put them back onto the straight needles because of the fact it might get a little odd. Okay, so here we go. We're going to purl 2. Always remember that first one, tighten it up. Okay, now we purled 2. All right, now we're going to bring it to the back because it says knit 1, because that's all you have on this side is 1 knit stitch. See, there's 1 V, so that means there's 1 knit stitch. Okay, we're going to bring it forward and a repeat from asterisk, which means we're going to purl 2. See, 1, 2, there are your 2 purls because of the little loops. You want to look for the little loops. The little loops are purl stitches. Okay? Now we're going to, again, knit 1. How many V's? 1 V, because we decreased on the other side. So knit 1. Now we're going to purl 2. How do we know? There's a loop, there's a loop. They're purl stitches, so we're going to purl 2. 1, 2. Now we're going to knit 1. How many knit stitches? There's 1 V. So now you know you're going to knit it. Okay? That is an easy way for you to, and I'll tell you who I learned that from. There's a really good person that I've been watching on YouTube, and her name is Marley Bird. And she happens to be an inspiration, how can I put it? Not inspiration. She helps promote patterns. She's a designer and everything for Red Heart. Okay, so she's a promoter. She's a promoter on YouTube. And so she's affiliated with Red Heart. And I'll tell you, she is a wealth of information. I will put her link on mine in these videos, because I think she's a wealth of information. I had learned a lot before I wanted to start teaching you guys. I had, just by watching her, I had learned different things. So I think she's really interesting and a wealth of information. In fact, we might eventually, and I'm saying this term loosely, eventually make a sweater that she does. She does a sweater, and it's a knit along, which kind of like what we're doing here. And she's really, really good. So, you know, she's interesting also to watch. So I'm gonna finish this up for you. See, that's a knit. Okay, 1 knit, because we had decreased on the other side. Now we're gonna purl the 2. You know, 1, 2 purls. Okay, 1 knit, because that was our decrease. From the other side, the 2 purl, because you're on the opposite side now. And this is a purl. 1, 2. Okay? So I'm just going to try and get through this row for you so we can see how this looks. Again. Okay, keep that tension. See the 2 little loops? That's your 2 purls. Okay. Okay, that's your 2 purls. We're going to do my knit. Make sure that's a knit. Yeah. Okay. Or purl, I'm sorry. There were 2 purls. Sometimes I forget too. You know, like I said, just keep looking. You know, stop. double check everything where you're at. I do that too, yes. I screw up too. Okay. I'll show you a couple things. You know, I'll make a video, show a couple things that I made. You know, we're gonna make a couple simple things first before we get into anything major. Okay, that's knit. Okay, that's my purl. Okay. Now, when I get to the end, it should be, if I didn't goof up. No, it's right. Okay, so to the last 2 stitches, then I'm going to do my 1 knit. That was the 2 purl. I'm going to do my 1 knit. And it says purl the last 2. And so I know that I did it right. I say the purls. And I purled the last 2. Okay. So there you go. Alright. So now let's see what it kind of looks like. Interesting. Okay, so let's turn it around. Okay, this is our right side. And see how that looks on the right side? So you really can't even tell that you decrease stitches on the right side. Now, the wrong side, you can see a little bit. That's why people don't like to decrease like that. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to decrease. You can probably see those little lines where you decreased. So, you know, later on, like, you can explore, like, even yourself on a lot of different things online of the difference. Okay? Okay. So then when you get to row 3, it's knit 2, purl 1, and go to the last stitches, knit 2. And then it's just repeating rows. Row 4 tells you to repeat row 2. It's very self-explanatory on here. If you don't know where you're at, take a pencil. Let me see. In fact, I'm going to mark it myself if I can find a pencil. Okay. I'm going to mark it myself. So I'm going to take a little break. So I have my trusty little pencil. I did row 1, row 2. Now I know that I'm at row 3. So I'm just going to make a little mark there. Okay. So I know I put a little mark there so that I know I'm at row 3. So it's telling me to knit 2, purl 1, and repeat to the asterisk. Repeat row 2. So you're going to do row 2, next row. Knit 2 together, purl 1. When I get to row 5, I'll come back on and finish that with you. Okay? So we're doing this project together. So when I finish that, that's what we'll do. We'll do row 5 together. Okay? So I think we're going to stop there actually. And when I come back, we'll come back then with row 3, which is your knit 2, purl 1, and then row 2, okay, which was, you're just going back, which is your purl 2, knit 1, all right, so, and then row 5. So I'll do those next 2 rows, and then I'll come back and continue on with row 5. All right, so we shall return.